Jack Harper wiped sweat from his forehead as he stared at the tangle of wires and light paths inside the open panel. The machine hummed unhappily, its normal blue glow now a sickly orange. Around him, the massive engine room of Starbase Epsilon buzzed with activity, but everyone gave Jack space to work. "How much longer, human?" asked Vornik, the tall, thin Trelaxian supervisor. His 4 eyes blinked nervously in sequence. "The central hub cannot function at reduced capacity for more than another hour." Jack didn't look up. "I'll need 30 minutes, maybe less." Vornik made a whistling sound through his breathing slits. The other engineers worked on this for 3 days without success. Even the system architect from Proxima Central could not identify the fault. Jack nodded, but kept working. This was normal. Alien engineers with centuries of experience and advanced degrees often failed where humans succeeded. He wasn't special among his own kind, just an average network engineer with 10 years of experience. But in the wider galaxy, humans like him were worth their weight in rare elements. He spotted the problem almost instantly: a tiny feedback loop in the quantum resonance field. The blueprints said it should work, but Jack knew better. Theory and reality rarely matched perfectly. He began the delicate process of retuning the system, his fingers dancing over controls that responded as much to intuition as to technical knowledge. 26 minutes later, the sickly orange glow shifted back to healthy blue. The hum of the machine changed pitch, returning to its normal sound. Around the engine room, status displays flickered from red to green. "Fixed," Jack said, closing the panel. Vornik's skin rippled with relief patterns. "Remarkable. Truly remarkable. How do you humans see patterns where we see only chaos?" Jack shrugged. "We just do." He was too tired to explain. This was his 14th hour on shift, and he had been scheduled for only 8. But emergencies happened, and when they did, humans were always called to solve them. As Jack walked back to his quarters, his personal device buzzed. Another work assignment had appeared on his schedule. He was now expected to report to Level 12 after only 4 hours of rest. He sighed. The new policies were getting worse. 40 light-years away, Olivia Wells stared at the holographic displays floating around her office on Galactic Central Station. As Director of Human Resources for the Galactic Infrastructure Commission, she was responsible for the placement of human workers across critical systems spanning 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. The data made her stomach tighten with concern. Reports of human exhaustion and burnout had increased by 43% in the last quarter alone. The new work policies were pushing her people to their breaking point. Her door chimed softly. "Enter," she called. Ambassador Zixtil of the Calphonian Confederation glided into the room, his ceremonial hover platform humming softly. His species had evolved in a heavy gravity environment and preferred to use technology rather than endure the discomfort of lighter gravity worlds. "Director Wells," the ambassador said, his translator converting the clicks and pops of his native language. "I trust the new human work schedules are being implemented as agreed." Olivia nodded stiffly. "As agreed by the Council, yes, though I must again register my formal protest. These hours are not sustainable for humans." Zixtil's 4 manipulator tentacles waved dismissively. "Your concerns are noted but unnecessary. The crisis in the Cygnus sector requires all resources to be utilized at maximum efficiency. Humans are not machines, Ambassador." "No," he agreed, his large compound eyes reflecting the light coldly. "Machines are replaceable. Your species is far more valuable, which is why we expect humans to rise to this challenge." After the ambassador left, Olivia turned back to her displays. The data didn't lie. Humans across the galaxy were approaching a collective breaking point. The alien species had come to depend on human intuition and problem-solving to keep their vast technological networks functioning, but they still treated humans as tools rather than partners. Something would have to change, and soon. Jack stared at the new work schedule on his personal device and felt his heart sink. His shifts had been increased by another 30%. Rest periods between work cycles had been cut to just 3 hours. It wasn't enough time for his body to recover, let alone his mind. Around him in the station cafeteria, other humans looked equally shocked and dismayed. No one was eating much. "This can't be legal," said Diane Miller, a navigation systems specialist, "even under emergency protocols." "It's legal," replied Steve Grant, who worked in communications. "I checked. The Galactic Council pushed through special measures citing the supposed crisis in the sickness sector." Jack rubbed his eyes, which felt like they had sand in them. "What crisis? I haven't heard about any crisis." Steve leaned closer. "That's just it. Some of us in communications have been talking. There's no actual crisis, not a real one. The Calthonians are making it up as an excuse to squeeze more work out of us." The table fell silent as Vornik, Jack's supervisor, approached. The Trilaxian looked uncomfortable, his skin shifting colors slightly. "Harper, you are needed in Section 14. The primary reactor control systems are showing anomalies." Jack looked down at his half-eaten meal. "I just finished a 12-hour shift." "Nevertheless, you are needed." Vornik's voice was apologetic but firm. As Jack stood up wearily, Steve caught his eye and gave him a meaningful look. Something was brewing among the humans. Jack nodded slightly. Whatever it was, he was in. On Galactic Central Station, Olivia Wells was in the middle of a heated argument with her superiors. "These reports cannot be ignored," she insisted, gesturing to the data projections around the conference table. 27% of human workers are showing signs of severe burnout. We've had 3 complete psychological breakdowns in the Orion hub just this week. Commissioner Drex, a bulky Centaurian with metallic scales covering much of his body, rumbled dismissively. "Humans have always been prone to emotional instability. It is a known weakness of your species." "It's not weakness," Olivia countered. "It's the result of overwork and insufficient recovery time. Every species has their limits. You're pushing humans beyond ours." Ambassador Zixtill's manipulator tentacles twitched with irritation. "Perhaps we should consider accelerating the breeding program to produce more human workers." Olivia fought to keep her face neutral despite her disgust. "Humans are not livestock, Ambassador. We're equal partners in the Galactic Alliance." "Equal?" Zixtill's translator somehow conveyed his mocking tone. "Your species only joined interstellar society 3 centuries ago. The Calthonian Confederation has guided galactic development for millennia. And yet you can't keep your own systems running without us," Olivia said quietly. The room fell silent. It was a truth no one wanted to acknowledge. Despite their advanced technology and ancient civilizations, the alien species had become dependent on humans for maintenance and troubleshooting of complex systems. There was something about the human mind, its creativity, its ability to make intuitive leaps, that other species couldn't replicate. Later that evening, Olivia received an encrypted message on her personal device. It was from an unofficial network of human workers across the galaxy. Humans had always maintained their own communication channels, separate from official galactic networks. The message was simple: breaking point reached. Silent action begins in 3 days. Spread the word. Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. She had hoped it wouldn't come to this, but the Galactic Council had pushed too hard. If humans across the galaxy took action together, the consequences would be enormous. She sent a single word in reply: confirmed. That night, as Jack finally collapsed into his bed after an 18-hour shift, his device buzzed with the same message. Despite his exhaustion, he smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn a hard lesson about human limits and human power. The message spread quickly through human networks across the galaxy. It wasn't a call for strikes or sabotage. It was something far more clever. Work exactly as they say we should. Nothing more. Jack sat in a small meeting room with 7 other humans from different departments on Starbase Epsilon. They spoke in hushed tones, though they had swept the room for listening devices. So we just follow the rulebook exactly. asked Diane, looking uncertain. That's the big plan. Exactly, said Jack. We do exactly what the manuals and protocols say to do. No shortcuts, no creative solutions, no human intuition. Just follow alien procedures to the letter. Steve nodded. The aliens have designed all their systems and protocols based on their thinking patterns. But their systems only work because humans find workarounds for the flaws in their designs. But won't they punish us if systems start failing? Asked Ben, a young technician from water recycling. How can they? Replied Jack. We'll be following their rules perfectly. They can't punish us for doing exactly what they told us to do. The others slowly nodded as understanding dawned. It was the perfect form of resistance. No rules broken, no contracts violated, just humans stopping the extra effort that kept everything running. The next day, Jack reported for his shift in Section 14. A cooling system was malfunctioning. Normally, he would spot the problem instantly and fix it with a creative adjustment. Today, he pulled out the official manual and began following the troubleshooting steps exactly as written. Step 1 took 2 hours instead of 10 minutes. Step 2 required him to file 3 different reports and wait for approval before continuing. By Step 4, Vornik was pacing nervously around him. Harper, what is taking so long? This is a simple thermal regulator issue. Jack looked up innocently. I'm following standard protocol. Supervisor. See. He held up the manual. Step 4, Section B requires a complete diagnostic cycle before proceeding to adjustments. But you never use the manual. You always just fix things. I've been informed that proper procedures must be followed at all times, Jack said, his face serious. For safety and efficiency. By the end of his shift, the cooling system was still not repaired. Jack filed a detailed report and handed the task to the next shift. The next human technician picked up exactly where he left off, following the manual with perfect, maddening precision. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out thousands of times. Human workers everywhere suddenly became sticklers for procedure. They stopped using their intuition. They stopped suggesting improvements. They stopped making the little adjustments that kept flawed systems running. At first, nothing dramatic happened. Systems continued functioning, though less efficiently. Repairs took longer. Communications experienced minor delays. Transportation schedules began to slip. On Galactic Central Station, Olivia Wells carefully documented everything. She created secure files tracking the growing number of small failures across galactic infrastructure. This would be her evidence when negotiations eventually began. 3 days into the silent action, she was summoned to a meeting with Commissioner Drex. There are reports of increasing system inefficiencies across multiple sectors, the Centaurian said without preamble. Is there something happening with the human workforce that I should know about? Olivia kept her face neutral. Not that I'm aware of, Commissioner. All humans are reporting for their shifts and completing their assigned tasks. Yet things are not functioning as they should. Perhaps the new work schedules are affecting performance, Olivia suggested. Fatigue can impair cognitive function. Or perhaps humans are engaging in some form of collective protest, Drex rumbled. Olivia met his gaze steadily. That would be a serious accusation, Commissioner. Do you have evidence that humans are violating their contracts? Drex couldn't answer. Because the truth was, humans weren't breaking any rules. They were following them perfectly. And that was the problem. 1 month into the human work-to-rule action, serious problems began to emerge across the galaxy. What had started as minor inefficiencies was growing into a crisis. Jack stood in the main control room of Starbase Epsilon, watching as red warning lights blinked across the massive status board. Beside him, Vornik and 3 other alien supervisors were frantically trying to understand what was happening. The power grid is fluctuating again, said a Hiraxian engineer, her scaled fingers moving rapidly over the control panel. I don't understand why the stabilizers aren't compensating. Jack knew exactly why. The stabilizer system had a design flaw that human engineers had always corrected with manual adjustments. Now, following protocol exactly, those adjustments weren't being made. The manual says to run a level 3 diagnostic when grid fluctuations exceed safety parameters, Jack said helpfully, pointing to the relevant page on his device. That will take 4 hours. Vornik exclaimed. Jack shrugged. It's the procedure, sir. As Vornik rushed off to consult with station management, Jack's personal device vibrated. It was a message from the human network. Central Galactic Financial Exchange shut down for 3 hours today. Economic panic spreading. He smiled slightly. The effects were growing. Soon, the alien leadership would have to recognize how much they depended on human creativity. On Galactic Central Station, Olivia was working late in her office when her door burst open. Ambassador Zixtil glided in, his hover platform moving faster than usual, indicating his agitation. What are your people doing? He demanded, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech. Olivia looked up calmly. I'm not sure what you mean, Ambassador. Don't play innocent. Systems are failing across 3 sectors. The financial exchange lost billions in trading value today. The interstellar transit system is reporting navigation errors. And none of your human workers seem capable of fixing anything properly. Are they refusing to work? Olivia asked. No, they're working. They're following every procedure. They file every report. They run every diagnostic. But nothing gets fixed. Olivia leaned back in her chair. So humans are doing exactly what they're contractually obligated to do, and systems are failing. That's interesting, don't you think? Zixtil's tentacles writhed in anger. This is deliberate sabotage. Prove it, Olivia said simply. Show me one instance where a human has violated protocol or failed to follow proper procedures. The ambassador couldn't. The humans had been careful. They were breaking nothing, sabotaging nothing. They were simply working exactly as the alien design systems said they should. The Galactic Council meets tomorrow, Zixtil said, his voice cold. The Orinthi delegation is already calling for sanctions against Earth. They want to deploy robotic replacements for human workers. Olivia laughed, which only angered the ambassador more. The Orinthi are welcome to try, she said, but they'll discover what you all should have realized long ago. Your systems don't work without human intuition. Your robots can follow procedures perfectly, but they can't see the patterns in chaos like we can. After the ambassador stormed out, Olivia sent a message to the human network. Phase 2 is working. Keep going. Back on Starbase Epsilon, a major system finally failed completely. The primary life support controls locked up, switching to emergency backups. Alarms blared throughout the station. Vornik found Jack in the cafeteria, calmly eating his meal. Harper, we need you in life support control immediately. Jack checked the time on his device. My shift ended 20 minutes ago. According to the new work policies, I'm required to take my full rest period before returning to duty. This is an emergency. Vornik's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in distress. The emergency protocols say qualified Trilaxian engineers should handle life support failures. Jack replied, taking another bite of his food. I believe there are 3 on duty right now. But they don't understand the system like you do. Jack looked Vornik directly in the eyes. Then maybe that's the problem, isn't it? By the 3rd month, the galaxy was in full crisis. The Galactic Council chamber was packed as representatives from every major species gathered for an emergency session. Floating platforms and specialized seating accommodated the diverse biology of the attendees. At the center of the vast room stood Olivia Wells, alone but unafraid. She had been summoned to explain the human situation to the Council. The evidence is clear, said Council Elder Traz, a massive Orinthi whose crystalline exoskeleton glittered under the chamber lights. Human workers across all sectors are engaged in coordinated action against galactic infrastructure. Yet no laws or contracts have been broken, countered Ambassador Thela of the Veldarians, one of the few species who had consistently treated humans as equals. If systems fail when procedures are followed correctly, perhaps the problem lies with the procedures, not the humans. Ambassador Zixtil's tentacles lashed the air in frustration. They are deliberately withholding their human intuition, the very quality we employed them for. Did you ever explicitly include human intuition in their contracts? Thela asked calmly. Or did you simply expect them to provide it without acknowledgement or fair compensation? The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. Elder Traz gestured toward Olivia. The human will explain their actions. All eyes turned to her. This was the moment the human network had been waiting for. Members of the council, Olivia began, her voice clear and confident. For 3 centuries, humans have served the galaxy faithfully. We have maintained your systems, solved your problems, and kept your civilization running smoothly. During that time, we have asked for little except fair treatment and recognition. She gestured to the large data display behind her, which showed a cascading list of system failures across the galaxy. What you see here is not the result of human sabotage. It is the result of humans finally doing exactly what you told us to do, in exactly the way you told us to do it. We are following your procedures to the letter. If those procedures don't work, perhaps you should ask yourselves why. Murmurs spread through the chamber as species conferred with their delegations. What do humans want? Asked a representative of the Narguli Combine, their voice transmitted through a water-filled translation device. To be treated as partners, not tools, Olivia replied. To have our unique abilities recognized and valued. To have working conditions that respect our physical and psychological needs. Ridiculous. Zixtil interrupted. You would hold the galaxy hostage for better working hours. We're not holding anything hostage, Olivia said calmly. We're simply showing you the reality you've refused to see. Your systems don't work without human creativity and intuition. You design technology based on your logical, procedural thinking patterns, but those systems only function because humans see the gaps and fill them intuitively. Back on Starbase Epsilon, Jack had become a minor celebrity. A security recording of him telling Bornik, "I'm doing exactly what the manual says to do," had spread across galactic networks. The phrase had become a slogan for the human movement. Now he stood in the station's main plaza, surrounded by curious aliens. Emergency systems were keeping the station functioning, but barely. The situation couldn't continue much longer. Why can't humans just go back to fixing things properly? Asked a young Trilaxian engineer. Because proper fixing was never in our job description, Jack explained. According to our contracts, we're just supposed to follow the procedures. That's all we're doing. But you know it doesn't work that way, the engineer insisted. Yes, we know, Jack agreed. The question is, do you? And if you do know, why wasn't it ever acknowledged in our treatment, our status, or our compensation? Across the plaza, a large screen showed the Galactic Council session. Jack watched as Olivia stood firm against the combined pressure of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. He felt a surge of pride as she defended human dignity. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. When humans break, everything else breaks with them. The Galactic Council session stretched into its 4th day. With nearly 40% of galactic systems in various states of failure, tensions ran high. Some species had begun moving military vessels toward human settlements in a show of force. This intimidation will not work, Olivia informed the council firmly. Humans have faced extinction-level events in our history. We survived. Threats only strengthen our resolve. Elder Traz raised a crystalline limb for attention. Perhaps we should approach this differently. Human Wells, we request a demonstration. What kind of demonstration? Olivia asked cautiously. We have prepared a test system, a recreation of the Centauri Junction communication hub that failed last week. We wish to see this human intuition in action. Olivia nodded. I'll need a typical human engineer, not a specialist. Within hours, a transport arrived at the council station carrying Jack Harper. He had been selected as the perfect example of an ordinary human worker. As he was led into the council chamber, he tried not to stare at the diverse alien beings surrounding him. Engineer Harper, Elder Traz, greeted him. "You will demonstrate human problem-solving abilities on the test system." Jack was led to a workstation where a complex array of controls and displays had been set up. Council technicians explained that it was an exact replica of the failed Centauri Junction communication hub. 3 different alien engineering teams had attempted to fix it following standard procedures, without success. "Take your time," Olivia said quietly to Jack. "This is important." Jack nodded and began to examine the system. First, he reviewed the standard procedures, nodding as he read them. Then he started looking at the actual system configuration, his eyes moving rapidly between different displays. "The procedures assume components are in standard positions," he said, thinking aloud. "But this installation has been customized. The logic flow is different from what the manual expects." He began making adjustments, sometimes pausing to close his eyes briefly, visualizing the entire system in his mind. The alien council members watched in silence, some recording his actions for later study. After 23 minutes, Jack made a final adjustment. The system status indicators all turned green. "Fixed," he said simply. Elder Traz leaned forward. "Explain what you did." Jack scratched his head, finding it difficult to put his thought process into words. The procedures expected a standard configuration, but this system had been customized. I had to feel where the data wanted to flow naturally, then adjust the pathways to match that pattern. "Feel where the data wanted to flow," repeated Ambassador Zixtil incredulously. "That's not engineering. That's human intuition," Olivia finished for him. "It's not magic. It's pattern recognition combined with creative problem-solving. Humans evolved these skills over millennia of survival on a constantly changing planet." Ambassador Thela moved forward. "I believe we have seen enough. Humans clearly provide a unique and essential service to galactic civilization, one that cannot be replaced by machines or other species. It is time to negotiate fair terms." For the next 2 days, Olivia led the human negotiation team, presenting their demands to the council. Jack stayed as a technical advisor, explaining how human workers actually solved problems versus how the procedures claimed they should be solved. The gap was enormous. What aliens considered exceptional problem-solving, humans saw as normal thinking. What humans did intuitively, most alien species could only achieve through centuries of specialized training. "We're not asking for special treatment," Olivia explained to the council. "We're asking for partnership, recognition that humans bring unique value to galactic civilization." Slowly, the council began to understand. The galaxy hadn't just been employing humans, it had built its entire technological infrastructure around human cognitive abilities without fully understanding or acknowledging them. As negotiations progressed, systems across the galaxy remained in crisis. But for the first time, there was hope that a new understanding might emerge from the breakdown. After a week of intense negotiations, a new galactic compact was formed. The document formally recognized humans as essential partners in galactic civilization, rather than just another worker species. Olivia stood on the raised platform in the council chamber as the agreement was finalized. Each species representative placed their mark on the document in their own tradition, some using digital signatures, others pressing body parts into special inks, and a few using genetic markers. When it was her turn, Olivia signed with an old-fashioned pen her grandfather had given her. The simple act felt significant, uniquely human. "The terms are accepted," announced Elder Traz. "Humans will receive seats on the Galactic Council proportional to their contribution to infrastructure. Working conditions will be reformed to respect human psychological needs, and a retroactive compensation package will be established." A ripple of agreement moved through the chamber. Not all species were happy with the outcome, but the galaxy-wide system's failure had left them little choice. Ambassador Zixtil approached Olivia after the ceremony, his hover platform positioned to meet her at eye level, a sign of respect he had never shown before. "Your species plays a dangerous game," he said quietly, "but effective. We underestimated humans." "A common mistake," Olivia replied. "One I hope won't be repeated." The Calthonian Confederation adapts. We learn. This new arrangement may benefit us all in ways we haven't anticipated. Olivia smiled. It was as close to an apology as she would get from a Calthonian. Back on Starbase Epsilon, Jack received news of the agreement with relief. All around him, humans were carefully returning to their intuitive work patterns. Systems that had been failing for months were finally coming back online. Vornik found Jack in the main engine room, where he was showing a young alien engineer how to properly calibrate the quantum stabilizers. "See, the manual says to adjust it until the reading reaches the green zone," Jack explained. "But if you listen to the sound it makes, you can tell when it's truly balanced, even if the reading is slightly off." The young engineer, a Calthonian named Zix, listened intently. "I hear nothing special." "You will," Jack assured him. "It takes practice. Humans are good at this because we evolved using all our senses together." Vornik cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "Harper, I have news. You've been promoted to department head for human-centered engineering." "It's a new division." Jack looked surprised. "I'm not qualified for that. I don't have the certifications." "The certifications have been waived," Vornik said. "Under the new agreement, experience and demonstrated ability count more than formal credentials for certain positions. You will train others in human problem-solving approaches." Later that day, Jack sat in his new office, still trying to process the changes. His personal device beeped with a message from Olivia. "Congratulations on the promotion. The new era begins with people like you teaching others." He smiled and wrote back, "I'm not sure I can teach intuition." Her reply came quickly. "You don't need to teach intuition. You need to teach them to value it. The rest will follow." Across the galaxy, similar changes were happening. Humans were being promoted to positions of authority and respect. Human-centered work practices were being implemented, and for the first time, alien species were studying human problem-solving as a field worthy of serious academic attention. The incident was becoming known throughout the galaxy as the Great Pause, the time when humans stepped back and allowed the galaxy to see what would happen without their unique contributions. Jack looked out the viewport of his new office at the stars beyond. The galaxy hadn't just needed human workers, it had needed human thinking. And now, finally, that contribution was being recognized and valued. 1 year after the crisis, a new balance existed in the galaxy. Humans were no longer invisible supports but recognized partners in civilization. The Galactic Council Chamber now included a permanent human delegation, with Olivia Wells serving as the first human High Commissioner. Jack entered the large training center on Starbase Epsilon, now renamed the Interspecies Cooperation Hub. The room was filled with students from 12 different species, all eager to learn about what was now called comparative cognitive engineering, the study of how different species' minds approached problems differently. "Today we'll be working on emergency bypasses," Jack announced to the class. "Each species has different strengths in problem solving. The goal isn't for everyone to think like humans, but to understand how humans think, just as we're learning how you think." At a workstation near the front, a young Calthonian named Zix raised a tentacle. "Instructor Harper, I've been practicing what you taught about feeling the system's flow. I believe I'm starting to understand." Jack smiled. Zix had become his most dedicated student. "Show us what you've learned." Zix moved to the demonstration unit and began working on a complex bypass system. His tentacles moved differently than they had months ago. Less rigid, more flowing. He still followed the proper steps, but there was something new in his approach. "I noticed the power fluctuation isn't just random," Zix explained. "It has a pattern, like music. If I adjust my timing to match this pattern." The system stabilized. A murmur of appreciation went through the class. "Excellent," said Jack. "Zix is describing intuitive pattern recognition. His species naturally excels at mathematical precision, But he's learning to combine that with what humans would call gut feeling. Later that day, Jack received a call from Olivia. Her image appeared on his office display, now showing her in formal Galactic Council attire. "How's the teaching going?" she asked. "Better than expected," Jack replied. "Some species are actually developing their own version of intuition. Not exactly like ours, but effective in its own way." Olivia nodded. "The Veldarians have a theory that intuition exists in all intelligent species, but most suppress it in favor of logical processes. Humans just happen to rely on both equally." "Speaking of progress," Jack said, "how are the new work policies being implemented?" "Nearly universal compliance," Olivia said with satisfaction. "The retroactive compensation package has been distributed to 97% of human workers, and the new human integration committees are ensuring our psychological needs are considered in all system designs." She paused, looking thoughtful. "The Galactic Archives are now calling the Great Pause the most significant peaceful revolution in 10,000 years. Not bad for a species that only joined galactic society 3 centuries ago." After the call ended, Jack walked through the station corridors. Everything looked the same as before the crisis, but everything felt different. Aliens nodded respectfully as he passed. Some even stopped him to ask questions or share ideas. He reached his favorite viewport and stood watching the stars. A Trelexian child approached, looking up at him with curious eyes. "Are you the human who broke the galaxy?" she asked innocently. Jack laughed. "No, little one. Humans didn't break the galaxy. We just stopped fixing it for a while. My parents says humans see things differently than we do," the child continued. "They say you can see patterns in chaos." Jack knelt down to her level. "Every species sees the universe in their own way. Trelexians see beautiful mathematical relationships that humans often miss. Calphonians perceive quantum states directly. Veldarians understand ecological connections intuitively." "What do humans see?" she asked. "We see possibilities," Jack said simply. "We look at something broken and imagine it whole again, but maybe in a new way. That's not better or worse than how other species think. It's just different, and the galaxy needs all our different ways of thinking working together." The Trelexian child considered this, then nodded solemnly. "I'm glad the galaxy didn't stay broken." "Me too," Jack agreed, looking out at the countless stars, each surrounded by worlds where humans and aliens now work together as true partners. "Me too,"